Shadows in the forest dawn broke over ironwood with the golden hues of sunlight brushing against the trees. But for Ronan, it brought little comfort. He had spent the entire night turning the mysterious words over in his mind. You are both alive and dead. You hold the power of the Undying. The power wasn't just a fluke. He had felt it. It wasn't only strength, though that alone was staggering. When he entered that undead state, everything was sharper. The wolves' movements had slowed before his eyes. The air had carried scents he'd never noticed before, and the forest itself had seemed alive. But that voice, it hadn't come from the forest. It had come from something, or someone, much deeper. Ronan gripped his axe, its ashwood handle firm in his grasp. He needed answers, and if they weren't in the cabin, they had to be in the forest. The woods held secrets he'd never dared to explore. But if the night had changed anything, it was his fear of the unknown. By mid-morning, Ronan found himself following the old hunter's trail, a path carved through the dense underbrush. As he walked, he felt the forest watching him. Birds silenced their songs, and shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally. He tightened his grip on the axe. The voice returned, this time faint and distant, like a whisper carried on the wind. Deeper. Ronan, your destiny lies deeper. He stopped, scanning the trees. Who's there? Show yourself. His voice carried more anger than fear. There was no answer, only the faint rustling of leaves. But this time, Ronan wasn't alone. The shadows moved, not just as tricks of the light, but as living, writhing things. From the darkness of the trees, a figure emerged, cloaked in a veil of swirling black mist. Its form was humanoid, but its features were indistinct, shifting like smoke caught in a breeze. The figure spoke, its voice hollow and resonant. You've awakened, Undying. Good. The curse is now your burden, and the time to choose is coming. Curse? Ronan asked, leveling his axe at the figure. I didn't ask for this. What do you want from me? The figure chuckled softly, though its lack of a face made the sound all the more unnerving. The question is not what I want, but what you will do. You are neither living nor dead, Ronan. You stand at the edge of two worlds, and both will demand your allegiance. I don't owe anything to anyone, Ronan snapped, taking a step forward. I'm not some pawn in a game I didn't sign up for. The figure paused, its swirling form growing more solid. You will see differently when they come for you. The living, terrified of what you are, and the dead, eager to claim you as their own. Before Ronan could reply, the figure's form burst into tendrils of shadow, melting back into the forest. The air grew still, but the tension remained. Ronan didn't know how long he stood there, his axe still raised and his heart pounding. The figure's words haunted him. What did it mean? Both will demand your allegiance? What was this curse it spoke of? His thoughts were interrupted by the sound of snapping branches nearby. He turned sharply, expecting another shadowy figure, but this time it was something far more physical. A hulking creature, its body a grotesque fusion of bone and rotting flesh, lumbered into the clearing. Its glowing, hollow eyes locked onto Ronan, and it let out a guttural roar that shook the trees. Ronan's instincts kicked in. He let out a breath, and with it, the transformation began. His skin grew cold, his breathing ceased, and his senses heightened. The world slowed as the creature charged, its massive, clawed hands outstretched. He moved without thinking, his axe cutting through the air like a blade through water. The creature swung a heavy arm, but Ronan dodged with ease, his undead strength making him faster and stronger than ever. His axe struck the creature's side with a deafening crack, cleaving through its decayed torso. The creature howled, but didn't fall. It was relentless. The fight was brutal and swift, with Ronan relying on his newfound abilities to overpower the beast. When it finally crumbled into a heap of bones and ash, he stood victorious, though his mind raced with questions. As his breathing returned and his body warmed, he slumped against a tree, staring at the remains of the creature. He had so many questions. Where had it come from? Was it sent by the shadows? And most importantly, Was this just the beginning? The forest seemed to answer him with silence, but deep within, Ronan knew this was only the start of something far greater than himself. In the distance, the whisper returned, softer now but no less haunting. The living and the dead, they will come. Be ready.